Hello, welcome back to class. It's been a while since the previous React video, I apologize for that. I have some IRL stuff going on, but to make up for that, I was intending to make a longer React video, and I'm currently recording this intro after I was done editing the bulk of the React and then some. And I'm doing this because I realized how long that video is. Currently, without the intro, it's like 39 minutes long already. This includes the React segment as well as my technical breakdowns that you guys like. And then the second half of the video is where I go into depth into Ableton as well as I touch on Suno with some prompt writing and a little bit of a music theory. Even though I'm not music trained, I just wanted to share what I have been experimenting with that I haven't really told anyone yet. So I started recording the React segment at like 7 p.m. yesterday, and currently it's 6:30 a.m. the next day. I tunnel visioned into editing, and so don't worry about it. I'll just sleep the entire Sunday away. I hope you guys stick around all the way till the end because I put quite a lot of effort into trying my best to explain it so that everyone can understand, even if they're not music trained or anything like that, as well as a little teaser at the end of what might be coming in the near future. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you around. Love you guys. Take care. On with the reactions. Very hard bass lines. Love it. Very wet bass. Feels very full. Holy shit, what the fuck? Okay. Down bad is an understatement. Can I have Fox Girls as my religion? Would anybody be open to joining my religion? Fox Girls? Anyway. Base department, simple love proposition. Nonsense without contextual. A flaming paradox, a spectacle. So the vocals are sung in a way that it's very choppy, very upbeat, very short, like little steps, little steps, little steps. There is no holding a word or holding a note, right? There's no or something like little you're right. It gives you a bit of a jumpy feeling, like tiptoeing around something. So that's sort of the emotion that can be emphasized with even just the way you sing or the way you deliver that vocal. Intellectual over sexual, but we want to keep it respectable. No fox given. Yo, links. I was given. Ring, ding, ding. What does the fox say? Truth, yip, yap, nothing fake. Okay, simple, simple. Right, you hear some parts, you would probably categorize it as like harmonizing. I think if you want to get that effect, you would probably have to write something like vocal layering or layered vocals. So here's what I'm talking about. So if you listen to the vocals, there are some words that are enunciated, not verbally like saying it more harsh, but just more of adding more layers of that same word being sung. Some songs have like crowd vocals. It's not much harmonizing as it is multiple of that same vocals being sung. What does the fox say? Truth, yip, yap, nothing fake. Right, the right? It sounds like there's like what, 3 or 4 different vocals for that one. So that is vocal layering. Right? Kitsune. Yeah, the bro, right? Holy, okay, we go into drum and bass. Very much drum and bass. Ooh, that nug shot is pretty nice. So, it feels like it's sketchy in the sense of drawing sketchy, not as in like a bad way of sketchy, as in like it looks like a sketch. And also this effect where you can see it's kind of like a circular thing. I can't tell what it is, but it gives off an effect like a fisheye lens. Essentially what a fisheye lens is, it's a camera lens
that shoots very wide, but as a side effect of shooting so wide, your straight lines become very distorted. So your straight lines become bent because your camera lens going that wide will start to have a bulge, the glass I'm talking about. So the glass on the lens, when you're going wider and wider, the smaller the number we go, the wider we're talking about. So 24 millimeters is considered wide, but not very wide. 14 millimeter. Now we're going into the ultra wide territory, like 16 millimeter, 14 millimeter. These are like the ultra wide territory. Fisheye, we're talking about 7 millimeters, 8 millimeters. And the lower number you go, you will start to see that the camera lens, the front glass on the camera lens will start to bulge. Starting with this image that I made in Whisk, I fed it back into Whisk and I told it to give me a 16:9 image, so expand my left and rights, and change the background field of view to an ultra wide effect. So show me more of the background, right? And this is what it has given me. Now it is correct because this is indeed ultra wide. We can see a lot of the background, but I realized with AI, it will not give you that lens distortion effect that you would normally get if you were to shoot this in real life, unless you explicitly tell the AI that you want the lens distortion effect. Now, to show you the 24mm, as you can see, this lens is my Sigma 24-70. It's a zoom lens, but the widest it can go is 24mm, which is reasonably wide, but it's not to the point of ultra wide yet. And so you can see the glass is actually still flat. And this is my 14mm ultra wide lens. As you can see, the glass is somewhat curved, and as you go down to 12mm, 10mm, you would realize the curve will start to get more and more aggressive. That is where the lens distortion effect comes from, where the straight lines start to become more and more curved. Now, here's what I mean. This was my original prompt to get this image, right? Now, this is the exact same prompt with one change. Earlier, I said change the background field of view to an ultra wide effect, but this time, I told it to give me the lens distortion effect. And what Whisk has come up with was to apply the fisheye lens effect on this image to further sell that ultra wide look. Earlier, I showed you my 14mm. Please respond. But for a fisheye lens, we are talking about 7mm, 8mm, watch my 9mm go bang. And with lenses that wide, you would realize that the glass is very curved, it's very convex. That's what makes the straight lines bend in your image when you're shooting in real life. So that's kind of the good and bad thing about AI, is that you do not have to deal with sort of maybe the side effects. Maybe the side effects are desirable, or maybe they're not. But in the case of maybe you don't want that side effect, then it's a good thing. But if you want that side effect, you have to explicitly tell the AI that you want it. Now here's another thing that I kind of want to point out. Remember my original image? So this building is straight, the railing is straight, right? And we look here, and generally nothing has changed from the original image. It didn't really edit on the original image. So this building is still straight. This building is still straight, right? Everything is still straight. The lines are still straight. And this railing here is also straight, which makes this look weird now. So this is kind of like sometimes the AI can get things wrong. Now, of course, this is kind of nitpicking, right? Because I gave it a image to work off of, right? I didn't generate it from scratch. So maybe if I wanted to regenerate this from scratch, it would have just curved everything for me. But yeah, this is just something that I wanted to point out when using AI to generate images or videos, right? Coming back, you can kind of see what I was trying to explain earlier about how straight lines are bent. Maybe this wasn't even the intent, but that's just how I perceived it to be. This is like maybe a fisheye lens type of wideness with lens distortion. But enough with the rambling, let's move on.
Now they're coming for my jugular, 'cause I'm just a little jugular.
Powder.
Already spiral diced into division. No cap cuts, a clean incisions. No flaky tears for a
Jesus, Sky.
No fox given. Can't help but
Why you gotta make Alana so hot, dude?
the derision keeps me driven.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you're gonna make me down bad, dude.
Oh my god, spicy take.
Jesus. Yo, Links again. Every time I drop by Lynx's stream, she's having a subathon, by the way, but every time I go back to her stream to drop by, right, it seems like the counter is never going down. Every time I go back, it's always a higher number. I have no idea how she's gonna finish the subathon. But I mean, good on her. Drop by Lynx's stream if you haven't.
Sunday, quang-a-lang like bro, but they're all no-show. Though half them yaps make you stop like whoa.
Yeah, the Mega Totoro.
It's not who you are, but what you
Ooh, male vocals.
What matters is that you heard the fox suit.
That's a
The
different
shoe fits
take.
and girls spits your wear, counting you. The people are much weaker when they're split in two.
Lend your voice to what it must defend, because truth don't bend like a passing trend. Sometimes only you feel
bar.
I appeal with the real spiel's been stamped by the common seal. No fox given. It's not a hard decision. Ring ding ding, what does the fox say? Moon your business, foxu. Don't play simple symbiosis, yeah, you know the way. Fuzzy till a day keeps the cray at bay. Quang-a-lang like bro.
I'm trying to find where he cuts and where he fades into different takes.
Shake those tails in the air like a fox don't
Ooh.
care. Loud and proud and going nowhere. Just when you feel you're falling behind, what the fox unlocks is a fabulous find. Faced or just faced what's real in life. If the truth cuts deep, that's the price of the knife. Stand tall.
God
sharp,
damn,
hold
okay.
high and spine, no hurt in the fog. Bright side, clear mind.
Back to drum and bass. Right. Maybe it's from this. Oh,
The
drum fill.
Little man hungry, running stream today.
Oh. Wow. Okay, holy shit, Sky. It's very hard to tell where you did your cuts and where you did your fades for the different takes. I know for a fact there are different takes in here, but you're doing such a great job to mask it out that I actually cannot tell. It's only the more obvious stuff like change in tempo, change in vocals, but even then, with Suno, prior, you could generate a vocal, and if you liked it, you could save that vocal and then reuse that same vocal. And so that's why it's so smooth, right? He probably was already doing it prior to that. That's maybe like Amelia's and stuff like that. But yeah, holy crap, it has gotten so good. You can barely tell where are the parts that he stitched together. Yeah, that's okay. That one was a bit more obvious. Oh, I like that art style. Hold on, whoa, she looks so nice. Oh, we're going to 3D. Okay, let's break that down a bit. First of all, I really like this art style. Not to mention there's a different take. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. So much happening within this few seconds. Holy crap. So let's just point out let me just point out something out, right? Don't know how many of you guys recognized or identified this change, right? So earlier, this entire sequence, right? Maybe this is one. Okay, this is one generation. Definitely. Okay, more. There's definitely more. The outfits changed a bit, right? 1, 2, 3, and then we go into this, right? Move. From here, he got this he used this end frame as the start frame for his next video generation to give him a 3D version of this current point of view. That's why I'm like, whoa, what the hell? Like, it went from 2D into 3D seamlessly, like what we call a match cut, right? A match cut is essentially same pose, same everything, but it's a hard cut in between two different scenes. You match it by some sort of a recurring element. So this is what I call like a match cut, essentially. So he matched this last frame as the first frame for this generation, and that's why the pose, you can see it's the same pose. And the transition lasted 1, 2, 3 frames. And so that's why, like, you don't realize that thing happening. But when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, okay, that's a pretty cool effect. Sorry, rambling again. Sorry. But yeah, let's watch it again. I just really like this shot. I think he posted this on Twitter. Boom. Before you realize it.
Rolling sheeple, stacking those slow like
Go, Pippa, go.
control. It's vertically divided, that's fine. Redefine.
Again, where did the stitch happen? I'm sure this is two different takes. Musically, okay? So let's listen to this part. It's a male vocal now, right? But I just realized that I'm not sure if it's a Suno byproduct thing or whether he wrote it to be a duet or something like that, but nice coincidence either way. He faded in the male vocal singing into the female vocal singing, and I think not a lot of people caught that because it also ran by me the first time. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, why is it female now? When did it change to female?
Stacking those slow like prim and proper paper scripts out of control.
Right? I'm not sure if it's because of the vocal distorting and then going to female, like if it's a nice coincidence, or it's a crossfade into the female vocal, but damn, that's pretty cool.
Sheeple stacking those slow like prim and proper paper scripts out of control.
Right, and suddenly now we're in female vocals.
Redefine, using your mind doesn't make you unkind. Slip the high from the edge and back from the ledge. Cancelled cancellation, now we're flying full-fledged. No fox given. You know we got the golden ribbon. Ring ding ding, what does the fox?
Okay, there's a bit of a fade into a different take, so I think there's a different take.
Lines are all nines. Sit and watch me slay. Simple, simple.
Wow, the grog generations Sky is getting is so good.
But they're all no show. Though half them yaps make you stop like.
I don't know how many of them are grog and how many of them are seed dance. Sorry. Because I know seed dance is actually pretty good. Damn. K-pop style ending pose. Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm down bad for Fox Girls. Who isn't? Guys, shall we start a new religion for Fox Girls? Anyone on board with me for that? God damn. But yeah, another banger that Sky has come up with. I wasn't expecting a drum and bass arrangement out of this. So that was a surprise. But still, the stitching together has improved so much that even I was able to only find maybe one or two, and that's it. The rest I couldn't even tell. He cut it so cleanly. Like he stitched it together so cleanly. Damn you, Skyebrows. Getting way too good at this, man. Okay, but moving on, let's talk about music and Suno, because I have some things that I want to share with you guys that I couldn't fit into the reaction because there was no correlation. It was gonna be a big segment, so it would have ruined the flow of this reaction. So that's why I left it to the last part. So let's go on to Suno and Ableton. So part of my experiment and researching, what I did was I downloaded the song that I generated and then I re-uploaded that song back into Suno because I wanted to see how Suno thinks and verbalizes its thoughts. Here's what I mean. This is the song that I re-uploaded back into Suno, and this is what it churned out. And the intention of why I did this was so I could see how Suno describes these elements, so that I can write my own prompts better, and I know what's the limit of Suno's prompts and what it can think, right? So here's what I'm talking about. Blah blah blah, J-pop with high energy, rock and electronic elements, features a bright processed female vocal, don't have to care about that, occasional double tracking. This just means layering, so you can probably write like vocal layering, right? And so here is the first descriptive prompt that we can sort of take home with us, right? Distorted electric guitars. And this is what I mean by feeding my song back into Suno to see how it describes it using its own language. Because if I learn its language and I learn how to write my prompts so that I can optimize how I want Suno to think, then it would yield better results, right? So when I read this, I know that, okay, so Suno knows what a distorted electric guitar sounds like. So I can use it in my prompt. Playing power chords and syncopated lead lines. Here we go. Syncopated lead lines is another descriptive musical term. Syncopated lead lines is another detailed music term that I can use in my prompts when I write my songs, right? Driving drum kit with prominent open hi-hats and snare cracks, right? Open hi-hats, snare cracks, right? And a thick synth bass. Right, thick synth bass is another way. Arpeggiated synthesizers is another detail when writing music. Arpeggiator, arpeggio. So it knows what arpeggio is. So that means I can specifically tell it that I want arpeggio in my generation, and then it can understand that. That's good to know. Digital pads. Right, this arrangement includes a high tempo 4/4 beat, right? So the 4/4 beat, it knows what a 4 on the floor is, right? A 4/4 beat at 175 BPM in the key of B major. This is the part where you can take with a huge grain of salt. Why? I know my song is not in 175 BPM because the song that I fed it is right here. And my original prompt that I gave it, I told it 150 BPM. And when I bring the song into Ableton, it is indeed around 150 BPM. So this means that when I feed my song back into Suno, and when Suno analyzes it, this time Suno is wrong. Suno can be wrong. You shouldn't be fully trusting the AI to give you everything on a silver platter, right? It can make mistakes. And so that's why I say take it with a grain of salt. The goal of this experiment, it's more to see how it describes these musical elements so that we can write our prompts and phrase it better and sort of verbalize our thoughts better. And it would give us better results in exchange. Syncopation is really easy to understand. You know how you're counting beats? Every time you're counting in music, you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Just like this. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Syncopation just means 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So every time I'm saying and in between beats 1 and 2, that is essentially syncopation in its most simplest form. You usually hear it in like the hi-hats, right? Something like this. Right? The hi-hats are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that is essentially syncopation. The next thing that I will be talking about is arpeggio or arpeggiated. You would see that prompt a lot in Suno. Here I have just a normal chord playing, that's the C chord. Right? That's just a normal C chord. Dun, right? Arpeggio just means, right? It's just playing the C chord, just sort of disassembled. So again, normal, and then arpeggio, but also this is arpeggio. Arpeggio just means playing each individual note in the chord however which way you want. And arpeggio is also an effect that you can just automate, right? We have the chord. Now we have the effect arpeggiator, and here's where we can play with it. We have the style in up, right? Then you can also do down. You kind of get it. It's pretty easy to understand what arpeggio is. So you have this. And with the effect, you can kind of choose how fast, how slow you want it to be. So that is essentially arpeggio. Very easy to understand. The next thing I will be talking about is sidechain, or essentially sidechain compression. You would see this prompt fairly often in Suno also, and Suno understands what is sidechain. Here I have the normal beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I played a normal, just one note. Very simple. Right, that's it. Now, with sidechain compression, I want you to see what is happening visually here. Take note of this yellow line. Think of this yellow line as the volume of this note that I played, okay? So I'm gonna play it and you would hear it. You see that? So every time the beat hits, the volume of the instrument that is playing, maybe synth, piano, whatever, it dips in volume. Over here, we can see how the sidechain works. It is taking the audio from my kick, which is this, and it's ducking the volume of this piano, E piano, every time the beat hits. That is essentially sidechain. So even with me muting the kicks up top, the sidechain will still go through because the effect directly takes the signal from the drum. I don't even have to hear the drum. The drum doesn't even need to be audible in your track, and you can still get the sidechain effect from it. right? So you can write that in your prompts, Suno understands it, and it's just as simple as that. This tool is very powerful because it allows you to, come up with new remixes and all that kind of stuff. But it's also going to bring a whole new wave of moral and ethic problems, right? So here's what I mean. I don't think Sky would appreciate if you downloaded this song from like a YouTube to MP3 converter, right? And then you upload it back into Suno, and then you just half-ass tell it to create a remix out of it, and then let Suno just freestyle whatever. And then you're like, oh, this sounds good. I'll just publish this as a whole ass remix, like you did so much on it. And then Sky is just like, after he spent like how many days on it, right? And that goes with any other musical artist. So keep that in mind. Like, to be honest, sorry Sky, but I uploaded Reducted back into Suno to see what it thought and how it described Reducted as a song. But also, I messed around with it to see if I can come up with some cool remixes for it. I did, but I never published those remixes because I never got Sky's permission to upload Reducted back into Suno in the first place. I got some cool remixes out of it, but I'm not going to publish them because I never got a verbal yes from Sky, right? I messaged him on Twitter, but he hasn't replied, and silence does not mean consent. So that's why it's for my ears only. Sky, check your DMs. I don't know. So this is the important thing that I really want to pass on as a message to the community. Practice some restraint, some respect, some basic common decency, right? If you're gonna do stuff like this. We already know how controversial it is. The last thing that I kind of want to talk about is actually something that I've been playing with a lot on Suno. I have a playlist of it, of this experiment, and it has to do with borrowed chords. Now this goes into music theory, but because I'm not trained in music, I cannot teach you in full detail what it is. All I know is the feeling that it gives me, or it gives you, when you're hearing it. I have drawn out a chord progression in C major. Don't worry about it. You don't have to go into learning music theory. All you have to know, there's a chord progression in C major. C major is all the white keys on the keyboard, right? And sometimes you would see people say like, the chord progression is 1-5-6-4. They're like, what the hell is 1-5-6-4? I'm in C major. Chord 1 is C, because C is the first note in the C major scale, right? First chord, C. 5, what is the fifth note in the C major scale? So let's count. 1 is C, 2 is D, 3 is E, 4 is F, 5 is G. So that is a G major chord. The next chord after that is a 6, a minor 6. So what is the note after G? It's A. So this is A minor. And then 4. What is 4? We already have established what is 5. 5 is G. So what was the note right before G? It's F, right? So 1, 5, 6, 4, C, G, A minor, F, right? Now you might be asking like, oh wow, C major, G major, A minor, and then F major for that chord progression. How do you know it's going to be A minor? Why isn't it A major in the, right? You're in a C major scale, right? How are you going to tell if it's going to be A minor? Frankly, I don't know how to tell if it's A minor or not. But I have a very powerful teacher, and that is Google, right? So what you want to do is open Google. See, that's why I'm not a music teacher, right? I'm just a music enjoyer. Even writing this, I had to search up what's the common C major progression, right? But anyway, moving on. This is how it sounds like. So generally, you would hear this saying a lot. Major chords generally feel quite bright, right? It feels warm. I wouldn't go to the extent of saying it feels happy, but it feels whole, right? When you listen to it, it does feel kind of like, it's... Right? It feels okay, right? It doesn't feel sad at all, right? It feels bright, it feels warm, it sounds like that. So now I have another chord progression. It's still the same, right? C, G, A minor. The only thing different here is now this is F minor. This F used to be F major here, right? Now it's F minor. I borrowed this F minor, right? It's on loan from somewhere. But I want you to listen now. This chord progression in C major with the F minor being borrowed from another scale. Right, you don't have to worry about like, crap, like, what's this scale now? So all you have to know is that same chord progression, C major, G major, A minor, F major earlier. All I did was I moved it down to F minor instead. F minor is a borrowed chord. Don't ask me to go into detail how that works. I don't know. Just listen to how this same progression sounds now. Right now it sounds like, oh wait a minute, it doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like we resolved, right? There's no resolution. It feels like it still needs to go somewhere. Emotionally, it doesn't feel like it's complete, right? As opposed to maybe this. Right, this F major feels more complete, right? Whereas the F minor feels like, this doesn't feel like it's the end. Let's just listen these two chord progressions again. Right, you listen to that and you're like, where are we supposed to go? It doesn't sound like it resolved, right? It doesn't feel whole. So that is essentially like what a borrowed chord does for the emotional tension. So on Suno, I was messing around and I also sort of made a playlist to kind of keep track of the experiments that I've been playing with. So this is the prompt: ascending chord progression, major scale with borrowed chords. I'm gonna let you listen to some of the generations. I won't point it out, but I want to kind of let your ears and your own feeling and emotion to try to identify a certain part of the song where the chord suddenly takes a shift that makes you go like, this sounds a bit different, right? Like it's not supposed to be there. Where are we going? We don't know yet. It hasn't resolved itself, right? We're talking about feelings here, not so much about musicality and music theory. I just want you to listen and use your feelings to identify it. Let's see if you can. Right? Or somewhere around the second part of the chorus, there was a certain chord that was like in between that made you feel like, oh, we're not quite there yet. And then the chord after that kind of gives you like, okay, we're there. This part. There was this in the middle there, you were like, oh, but you're not there yet. And then the chord after that, you were like, okay, yeah, now it feels whole again. So that was what I was trying to experiment with when making music, because we're trying to play with emotion. We're trying to feel something out of it, right? So that is essentially what I'm trying to point out in terms of what music can make you feel. Let's see if we can find that feeling again. This is a different example. Right, so we can kind of identify it again, I presume. Somewhere around here. Same thing, because these are all, if you see it's kind of the same thing as the first generation that I let you hear the first time, but it happens around here, right? Here. Right, the chord suddenly like, okay, that it doesn't feel like it belongs there. That is what I'm trying to sort of share my findings essentially when experimenting with borrowed chords. It creates this part of a song or the chorus that makes you go, ooh, it doesn't feel like it belongs, but that's what creates that tension because it doesn't belong. And then the chord after that is back on track. Then you're like, okay, now we're back. For the next one, as you can see, I'm about to play this one, but there's like so many different variations of this bass one. The reason is because when I managed to generate this one, when I took a listen to it, I was like, oh, okay, the feeling is very prominent and it's very obviously making the song sort of have a emotional turn. So I just want you to listen to it, and hopefully you will also be able to identify and feel it as to how the previous examples that I showed you were. So without further ado,
焦がれるほどの夏だったね傷ついても構わないって笑いながらキスをした少し苦い味がした戻れないってわかってるのに同じ道を探してしまう若すぎた眩しすぎたあなたと見た焦げる空
You could hear it in the second part of the chorus, right? There was that one note on the way up that felt like, wait, we're not quite there yet. Ooh. And then the note after that was like, okay. So let me just play that part of the chorus again for you. Right? That part. Oh, so good. It just feels so good. Ah, man. So good. Now I should also preface this by saying that I am not musically trained. I'm just going by what my ears are telling me. I could be very well wrong with this prompt major chord plus borrowed chords, but from my listening and the emotions that I get from listening, I'm not going by any technicalities in this. I'm just going by feeling at this point. So far, whenever I use this prompt, I could always replicate this feeling multiple times with the same prompt. And so that's why I think that's what's causing it. So maybe someone who is trained musically will correct me in the comments. I don't know. This is essentially major chord plus borrowed chords and the feeling that it would give you. There is a video on YouTube that explains this feeling to a much deeper extent. If you guys are interested in learning about that, I would link it in the description. Since we're talking about AI prompts, let's continue with it. So let's kind of check out the different variations of ascending major chord plus borrowed chords.
I'm cutting every tether, breathing like it's my first day. I'm racing into the sunset to be reborn in the blaze. Bittersweet Polaroids in my mind. 笑い声だけは消えない I'm moving on and I'm walking away でもねまだ少しいたい Bittersweet Polaroids let them fade 目の奥で光ったまま I'm moving on I'm finding my way 手放してるんだ You and yesterday 若かったあの頃に戻れないこと知ってるのに何度も振り向いてしまう傷ついてやっと覚えた優しささえあの頃の私には重すぎただろうな くだらない
This one, the chords moved pretty quickly, but I think if you listen closely, you would be able to be like, oh, there was a bit of something different here that made you have a sort of emotional turn just for that split second. So let's have another listen to it again.
たあの頃に戻れないことを知ってるのに何度も振り向いてしまう傷ついてやっと覚えた優しささえあの頃の私には重すぎただろう
So yeah, if you guys are interested in maybe listening to it for yourselves, maybe if you want to try to replicate this playlist is public. Have fun. I'll share it in the description. Feel free to remix it. I don't care. I currently don't have the subscription yet. I'm still settling some IRL stuff before I get the subscription for it somewhere later this month. And then keep a lookout because I've started a second channel where I will be uploading essentially my generations that I got from Suno. Outro things, remember, like, comment, subscribe, write a notification bell up in the comments below, something like that. I don't know, keep a lookout. I will be releasing